Hello everybody, welcome to the FourFourTwo YouTube channel, and if you think you are more excited than I am today, you are wrong. We are joined by Rodri. Between us, 4 Premier League titles, 1 FA Cup, 1 Champions League, 1 European Championship, 1 Ballon d'Or, and 1 Northeast Under-15s Counties Cup 2003. We've done all right between us. First question. What does this mean to you? Like, congratulations, first of all, but to win an honour like this at this stage of your career, how does that feel?
Well, I mean, I cannot explain, with words. It means a lot, to me, my family, also my country. Not only because me, the players, as we said before, who didn't want it, but yeah, I think it's a consequence of the work hard and winning collectively with the team and the years we had, the success of my team and the national team.
We were just talking before about sort of how it's seen as slightly unusual for a player in your position to win an award like that. Now, obviously, no 2 midfielders are ever really the same. Chris called you a defensive midfielder, you called yourself a holding midfielder. There's so many different ways of playing the role. What I'd love to know, this might be a really big question, but how do you see your game? Like, what is Rodri to Rodri?
What is Rodri to Rodri? Well, I think it depends, of course, on the team you play, but I think my role is very similar in my club and my national team. But I think you're kind of the guy who ensures that everything has to work, like you don't have a specific thing to do, you just have lots of things to do. Maybe your role is different from one day to another in the sense that things changes depending on the team you face, and you have to make sure the team works, and it's about leadership, it's about managing, it's about understanding the game, and I think it's something I've been growing a lot all these years, yeah.
I think it's interesting you said it varies from sort of game to game, because whether it's for Man City or the national side, you're so critical to that first phase of play, but obviously that can be so different between oppositions. Like, some games they'll give you lots of space, some games will be very aggressive. How much of that is down to you to determine in the match, like for you to basically make the call on the pitch, I'm going to take this position or offer this situation?
I cannot tell you like it's this. It's just how you smell the game, how you feel, where you find the spaces. Every game is different, and trying understanding that we have a way of playing, and understanding that I'm in a team that is very tactical and everyone knows what to do, and in that way it's easier. But I, let's say, have like a bigger role in that sense, in tactic sense, like maybe Phil is worried about being positioned in here, but maybe after 20 minutes he's there, and my work is to make Phil go there because there is a real space, and this is the way it works for the midfielder.
You mentioned, I presume that's Phil Foden there you're referring to. Yeah, obviously you've had so many different partners in the midfield. There's been a real trend over the last 2 years of defenders now stepping up to sort of join midfielders in there. We spoke to quite a few defenders about how they make that adaptation, how they adapt to the role, but I was kind of curious from the other side. Like, is it different for you being a midfielder and having a defender in there? Do you have to adjust your game to sort of know that's not maybe their natural position?
I think it's more difficult to do what, for example, Stones have done, or Cancelo in the past, or Akanji sometimes when they play that role. I think when we move back as a centre back, we're used to look 360, and be surrounded of players, and when you play centre back, you just have players on front, you have no worry about your back, and with the ball is more chill, I speak with the centre backs like, your job with the ball is so easy, so easy. Without the ball is different, without the ball is so key, it's demanding the position, and it's very, very tricky, but I think that process is more easy in my way than their way.
Do they agree with you when you tell them their jobs?
I think so, yeah. I think they might, because when they play midfielders, they have to look, 360, play 1-2 touch, switch off, defend, attack. I think it's the most complete part of in the field,
Do you think that makes your job different when you're in there with them? Like, let's say you were in with sort of a more natural midfielder. Will you be looking out for them a little bit more, or will you just sort of be trusting them to do their job?
I trust in the way. I think of course they will look at me when they play that role, and the same way I remember in the World Cup, before I know I'm gonna play there, as a centre back, I watch clips of centre back, how they behave, how they look each other, you know, the line, everything. You have to look at the people that really knows that role, you know.
Not looking for sort of specific names here, because I'm sure you couldn't give us them, but is there a specific kind of player you like to be in the middle with? Like, if you're being joined by somebody, would you prefer it to somebody, say, really athletic, who'll cover the ground, someone who is technically great so you can trust them with the ball in a tight situation? Do you have a preferred kind of partner? Or
Yeah, of course. I always say the same. The best partner is the one that defends and helps you a lot, and is so good and technical with the ball. Normally, what you find is players that are very technical, they don't defend much or not good at defending, and the opposite, you know. I think the balance is for me the best, you know. But if you ask me, that I'm a defensive midfielder, I normally want a guy that can help me, you know, when I'm not in the zone or whatever.
Are there any specific parts of your game that you really have had to work to develop? Because obviously you get into an age now where you'll never stop improving, you never stop wanting to develop, but you've come a long way in sort of your journey as a footballer. What have been the areas that you've had to really work on, whether it's through coaching or just by yourself?
Yeah, I think one was very, very key. I remember my first year at City. I was a player that used to jump a lot, you know, go press
forward.
high, forward, and sometimes it's good, but many of them is not good, because if they play you in your back, the team is like naked, you know. You have to defend 70 meters behind, and it's something I really improve, and that's identify when to go, when to stay, you know. And that role for me is the most important, the balance. That gives you the balance, you know. In the moment you lose that position, that midfielder, you lose the heart of the team. And most of the goals, I don't have the statistics, but most of the goals come in the central area, you know. So if you're there, it's more difficult for them to find a way.
Is that something a particular coach has worked on with you, or is that something you identified yourself that you needed?
No. They with clips, with videos. You see, you going to the side. Why you go to the side? You just protect this, you know. It's very demanding, and by the time they saw I got it, they just start, you know, giving me that freedom. But until that, it was like the first year, very strict.
This might sound a really silly question because we're sitting in either side of the Ballon d'Or, but is there any part of your game right now you really do want to still improve? Anything you think that you'd like to refine that in the next year?
Yeah. I think I have a massive, many parts of my game that can be improved. Many of them. Most of them in terms of the head. Sometimes be more cold, not that passionate. Try to be a better leader every day, that role. And in terms of football, thinking on football, yeah, of course, 100%. The last third, for example, is something I paid a lot of attention the last years, you know, to be more involved in goals, assists, you know, be more decisive in this sense. But maybe, I don't know, I control more when I'm tired or exhausted, don't move that much, try to stay. Yeah, many things to improve, yeah.
I think it's really interesting you talked about the sort of mental side of it there, especially when you're sort of attacking. With a player in your position, this is something I've always wondered about. If you're in the final third, so, you know, the responsibilities of defence maybe aren't quite as pressing, how much of your sort of brain power goes towards helping with the attack and taking up a position where you could help versus watching out for potentially the team losing the ball and being in the right position if that happens?
It's that balance what gives you if you're good or not, because if you are too worried about counterattacks, you don't help the team attacking. If you are too overconfident of attacking, you can be punished. It's trying to find the balance and being very safe. You know, when the ball goes through you in those situations where all the players are in front of you, you have to be very safe, you know. But in the same times, you cannot be lazy with the ball and safe. You have to, you know, find the key pass, risky sometimes. It's a matter of identifying the moment, you know.
Is that something that you'll sort of have to decide yourself in the moment, or is that something that's really coached?
Yeah, it's something. It's very difficult to coach this. It's a matter of feeling when you see the movement, when you see the line, when you see it's time to keep the ball, when it's time to accelerate. It's something they cannot teach you. You know, it's something you can see in other players. That's true.
I thought it was really interesting. Chris touched upon the goal he scored in the Champions League final, because my perspective of that game from watching it was that Inter had sort of quite a good handle on sort of what you were going to do, and they were quite well disciplined and making it very difficult. And it was you that popped up with the goal. Now watching it back, there's a huge amount of space on the edge of that box, and I've always wondered, was that something you prepared for? Because it seems almost a deliberate rush of all the players to the near post to leave that space. Did you sort of know that was going to happen, or was that something you sensed?
No, I didn't know that was going to happen. It's a matter of seconds. I remember following the game in that chance, and the ball just appeared there, but I think I was 1 second early than everyone, and I made 2-3 steps before.
You had quite a lot of ground. Watching it, you had quite a lot of ground
very long,
to get there.
Because when Manu gives the ball, and I think I'm behind him, you know, and he was very far from the central area. So yeah, I think I remember I did like 2-3 steps because I felt that maybe something could happen there. But yeah, when I see the ball there, I was like.
I was going to say, what was going through your head when you sort of, because it must be a snap-second decision.
Yeah, it was seconds.
Because if you overcommit to that and you don't get there, that's huge. You just took a huge amount of trouble.
So I think this is something that I admire from the number 9s. It's that little fraction of second when they are alone, but maybe the centre back is looking the ball and he's making 1 step, and that's what makes him have the space, you know, or. It's something I admire a lot because we don't have that feeling or where the ball is gonna come. You know, they are the best in that. But yeah, I remember that moment when the ball came to me. You have 1-2 seconds to think what to do with that ball. You know, and I always said that I first thing to shoot strong the ball, but at the end I was like, no, you only have one. Just put it to the corner, and yeah, definitely was good.
Does this mean we could see you getting a run as a centre forward at some point? If that's
imagine not with my speed. Not with my speed, but more or less, because now the way we play, most of the times we play in the frontal area. So sometimes we are number 10.
How do you think your game will change over the next couple of years? Do you think, because you said before about how you want to work on the mental side of things, do you think you'll become more, I don't want to say sort of like stationary, but be better just sort of?
It's something I speak a lot with my friends, and I ask them, I have a really confident opinion on what is gonna behave, and I think it's gonna be very similar to handball. You know,
really?
You know handball? They stay all over the area, just blocking.
Yeah.
They don't try to go man mark, you know, or try to steal. They're just there, and I think we see, in my opinion, is a mess. But we see a lot of now when the team feels that on paper is maybe worse than the other. So defensive, you know, and this makes maybe 11 players almost in the box, and I think that's the new football. Counter-attack, the team that is defending, and the team that is trying to open them, very spread. I think this is how I see football in the next years.
I think we see that actually quite a lot in sort of the big clashes between the big teams, because obviously the attacking threat's so big. We see a lot of sort of, even from like the very top teams in the Premier League, they'll go sort of quite with a compact mid-block against each other, and it kind of makes certainly the centre of the pitch very difficult to play through and to play in. You think that's because we're going to see that pretty much constantly?
I think so. I think it's a big indicative?
Yeah.
That between two big teams, you see when you defend very back.
Yes.
Because normally I punish you, I punch you, I punish you, I punish you. And maybe the game is more open, but now you're seeing that doesn't matter if the level of the two teams are similar. When you defend, you go back, and when you attack, you spread. So I don't know. Let's see.
Cagey is the word we use for that.
Cagey,
bit sort of like reluctant to go.
Yeah.
You very rarely now see sort of open basketball games. People call them.
Definitely.
I suppose that's actually a good way to analyse it. Yeah. Trying to avoid a basketball game, it becomes a handball.
That's why I enjoy most of the games we play against Liverpool. Yeah, it's great because it's like I don't care. I want to punish you, and we have the same feeling. I don't care. I want to punish you, and they are not conservative.
Yes.
They go with the mentality, and once you are in the pitch, you enjoy those moments because it's the same game every
the crowd must be so different as well. Yeah. One thing we always try and ask is, has there been a team in the last few years that you've played against that maybe people wouldn't have expected to be a huge challenge for either Spain or Manchester City, but who really surprised you with sort of how good they were and how intelligent their football was?
Not surprised, but there are some teams that well, you don't know, or you know, but they are the worst for you.
Yeah.
And for example, Tottenham was
Tottenham.
for us. Especially when Kane was in it, and Son, and the other one, Lucas Moura, whatever, because they have the perfect way to play against us.
Yeah.
And I remember that game in Tottenham Stadium was difficult. I never won
I was going to say, which one?
last year, the first time, but it was like, why so tricky? And you cannot understand, but yeah, sometimes it's like this.
Chris already asked you. I was going to leave this question off, but you've sort of touched upon it a little bit. You said you wouldn't know, you don't want to plan too far ahead in terms of thinking about being a coach or a manager. It's clear that like you think about this in the way that a coach or manager would. Is that really not something you're considering at this point? Have you got even like half an eye on doing it?
Well, imagine right now.
Not right now, but you've got to start somewhere.
No, I don't know. I think what I see is, as a footballer, as a coach, you lose a lot of time in terms of travels, and coaches and staff. They have the same life of players without playing, you know. And this is something that makes me, you know, a bit. It's not because I don't like coaching. It's the circumstances of being a coach. So I don't know. Maybe I retire as like I want to coach, or maybe no. I don't know.
Rodri, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. Actually, do you know what's really mad about that is I will go home for Christmas and both of my parents will still ask when I'm getting a real job. But anyway, obviously I wasn't going to make the actual Ballon d'Or winner sit there while I went through the whole please like and subscribe to the channel stuff. So please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because if you have watched us before, you'll have heard me say that when people subscribe and that number grows, we get to go and do loads of cool things. And that is the cool things I have been talking about. So if you are a subscriber already, you literally made that happen. Like, genuinely, because of all of you lot, when we ring up the actual best football player in the world and say, would you like to come on the channel and do a little video? He says yes, and not, who are you, how did you get this number? Anyway, though, I digress. You can get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, C-L-E-R-Y. I would dearly love to hear what you thought about that interview, and you can put it in the comment section down below, or you can tell me directly. And if you would like to share that video around, that is something that greases the wheels of content and may help us do something very cool like that in the future again. But also, if you'd like to hear more from Rodri, then why not pick up the brand new awards issue of FourFourTwo, in which he is not only the video interview, but he's our cover star as well. We did a whole other interview with him about Man City, about the Ballon d'Or, about all the stuff you would expect normal people to ask him. It comes in this bag and is really, is that the cover? No, where is it? Really pretty. And you get this calendar too, apparently. Anyway, yes, that's it. That's the Rodri interview. That's probably the greatest thing I've done in my entire career so far. Thank you very much for watching. Literally love every single one of you very dearly. Goodbye.